Hey guys, and welcome to Jurassic 101, your top-up of nostalgia for all things Jurassic Park. I'm joined today by my awesome co-host Dino Reviews 101. Say hello, Dino Reviews.
Hey guys, how you doing?
And today we are really honored to be joined by the incredible Matt Winston, who is the founder of Stan Winston School of Character Arts. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today, Matt.
Absolutely my pleasure. I love talking about dinosaurs, guys.
First question, we're going to get straight in there. So you're in Toys R Us and you have $35 in your pocket and you've been instructed by a young relative to buy a dinosaur toy, okay? Dinosaur being the heavy word here, okay? Do you A, buy a T.rex that doesn't look like the one seen in the film franchise, or B, buy the Indominus Rex, which technically isn't a dinosaur?
Oh boy, that's a great question. But it looks just like the Indominus Rex from Jurassic World.
Exactly like the Indominus Rex, maybe with a slightly oversized rubber head.
Now that makes it easy. I would go with the Indominus. Had you said there was a Jurassic Park screen-accurate T-Rex as well, I'm going for the T-Rex. But you didn't.
Oh man, I think we all would. And now I know 1993 must seem like a distant memory for you, but we'd like to ask you a few questions today about a little film called Jurassic Park. I'd like to hand over to Dino Reviews 101 for the first question.
So Matt, how are you involved with the production of Jurassic Park?
Okay, so I graduated from college in 1992, and when I came back to Los Angeles, Dad said, "Hey, we're working on this dinosaur movie. Come work at the shop." And at the end of it, you'll come puppeteer on set. So that summer, I hung out at the studio and I, helped out wherever I was needed. And then I had the great pleasure of puppeteering on pretty much every dinosaur team except for the sick Triceratops stuff, which was out in Hawaii. For 3 months, I was a dino puppeteer. It was the greatest, most thrilling on-set experience I have ever had, and I can't see it being topped, to be frank with you. It was incredible.
Did you spend a lot of time on set? I think you kind of answered that in the previous question, but I'll ask you anyways.
I was on set every single day for 3 months. That's one of the perks of being Stan's kid, is you get to work on a lot of stuff, and it wasn't really fair because I didn't do nearly the amount of work that anyone else did. But being the boss's kid is kind of a cool thing. So yeah, I was there every single day for 3 months.
Awesome.
Wow.
So, which particular scenes did you take part in?
Like I said, I had the pleasure of working on every single dinosaur sequence that involved practical dinosaurs except for the sick Triceratops. So I was there for the entire T-Rex paddock attack shoot. I was there for all of the raptor sequences in the kitchen, in the jungle, everywhere. I was involved with the entire spitter sequence, getting drenched in the rain as we shot that, the Nedry attack. I was there for the baby T-Rex, the baby raptor hatching scene. There were not many puppeteers required, so I was there more in a support role, and so on. So I was really, really lucky. I think I was the only one who got to be on every crew, because again, Daddy was really cool to me.
So I think you answered a couple of our questions in one question, but thank you. But being collectors of Jurassic Park collectibles, both of us here, we have to ask, did you get to take any souvenirs from the set home?
I can't comment on that. The official word is no, but when they're done on a certain set, maybe there's a piece of junk sitting in the corner and it's part of the control room. You just take it home,
That's great.
So my official answer is no. I took nothing.
Okay. Are there any particular parts of the set that you definitely didn't take home?
Yes, I definitely didn't take home any bits of dinosaur bone from the finale sequence.
Nice. Well, good thing you left those because they probably would be very expensive right now.
I wouldn't know because I didn't take anything. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, I have we both Jurassic collectibles, and I both love collecting Jurassic Park stuff. It's an obsession of mine, so that's awesome. So following the success of Jurassic Park and its highly anticipated sequel to Lost World, Jurassic Park, it was greenlit by Universal. What was the atmosphere like at Stan's when you got the news?
That number 2 was happening?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely thrilled and overjoyed. You have to understand, most of the people who get into creature effects, have a lot in common in terms of what they love. And monsters obviously are one of them, the classic Universal monsters. Pretty much every creature effects person loves them. And dinosaurs. Everyone loves dinosaurs. So to get to do Jurassic Park was truly a dream come true and a fanboy and fangirl fantasy come to life. And to get to do it again and to improve upon the stuff in the first one was incredible. And especially for Dad, that's what Dad always loved, was outdoing himself, always. And to get a chance to go back and iron out some of the puppetry issues and finesse the raptors and really take things to a new level was very exciting. You don't often get to do that. But that was very exciting to people.
Yeah, the animatronics and puppeteer work for The Lost World was it was fantastic. It's amazing going back and watching the work that your dad Stan did. It's surreal sometimes because I can't imagine how amazing it could have been when you're on set on a Jurassic Park film, because did it really feel like there were living dinosaurs right in front of you?
Oh yes, completely. The only thing that was missing was their growls and their roars, but other than that, there was no digital augmentation required. You're standing in front of a fully living and seemingly breathing animal. It didn't feel like an outrageous monster. It felt subtle. It felt real. And the greatest experience I have ever had on a set was on that T.rex paddock set for Jurassic Park 1 when they fired up the T.rex. Anyone standing in front of that T.rex, the size of it, the speed of it, the life of it, I can't imagine it being much more thrilling standing nose to nose with a real one, because it felt so real. So yeah.
That's awesome. So did you have much or any involvement in the production of The Lost World?
By the time The Lost World came out, I had officially told my dad that while I was the biggest fan of creature effects and, loved my time at the studio for the first 25 years of my life, I said it was time for me to go off and become an actor and follow a dream I had had for many years. And so I left the shop at that point, and I didn't work on the film, although I did get to visit the set a bunch of times. I always went to sets. And I might have been handed a controller at some point. I can't remember. But no, I didn't really have the same involvement in JP2 as I did in Jurassic Park.
Okay. And then the start of a new millennium, Jurassic Park 3 went into production. Was it much more streamlined the third time around?
Well, yes. What happened over the course of the films is that the time frames became shorter for these builds. And by necessity, the process of creating dinosaurs became much more streamlined. The crew were relying much more heavily on rapid prototyping techniques to turn these dinosaurs out quickly. And the mechanical side of things had been perfected. And so, yes, much more streamlined, but no less ambitious. That Spinosaurus was the biggest animatronic to ever come out of Stan Winston Studio. It was incredible. So yes, more streamlined, but no less groundbreaking.
So thank you so much. I'm going to hand this over to JC.
So fast forward 14 years, Matt, and we have Jurassic World, the fourth installment in the franchise. What did you think of Jurassic World?
I enjoyed Jurassic World very much. I thought that they did a brilliant job of honoring the spirit of the original trilogy. I thought there was a lot of fun. I thought they had a great cast. I thought the dinosaur sequences were really terrific, and I thought it was the best digital work that I've seen in the series. But, and there's a big but, a big dinosaur-sized but, they underused practical effects, in my opinion, and the movie could have been that much more real if they had taken the opportunity to mix it up a bit. I think Jurassic Park still is better in terms of the dinosaurs. You look at it, it's real. They're there. And when they're not there and they're digital, it's okay because they keep cutting back and forth. So you never really know. All you know is it feels real. And I felt that Jurassic World was unfortunately overly digital. I thought the raptors especially suffered from it. And I thought the T.rex that we know and love was nowhere near as realistic as the first film, which combined all those techniques. Legacy Effects, which is made up of many, many, many veterans of the Jurassic World franchise, many of my dad's.
Big fans, by the way. We have to say big fans. We bow down to Legacy Effects. That's fantastic.
This is all my dad's other family, not his biological family.
I mean, John Rosengrant, Shane Mahan, all of these guys, I mean, they're gods to us. I mean, it's fantastic.
Absolutely. And these are all the same artists that worked on the original trilogy, and I thought the work they did design-wise for Jurassic World was wonderful. They were very heavily involved in the design process for all the dinosaurs, even those that were not realized physically. And then, of course, they built the Apatosaurus animatronic, which I thought was beautiful, which I thought was one of the most tactile moments in the film. Just wish there was more of it. So my hope is that they lean a bit more heavily into that balance that works the best the next time out, and I think which J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy nailed in Star Wars: The Force Awakens. It's chock full. It's chock full of practical effects.
My God, yeah.
Yeah, Jurassic World didn't bring back practical effects, but Star Wars: The Force Awakens has, and I can't wait to see more films re-embracing it the way J.J. Abrams has. It's
ironic because, as digital is supposed to represent this kind of like cold, accurate, like if you 3D scan in a model, it's going to stay on model, it's going to be accurate. And what's ironic is that I think some of the work was outsourced from Industrial Light and Magic to like Image Engine in Canada. And there were shots that were done by Industrial Light and Magic and Image Engine on like the same Raptors, which means that actually you're going to always get a consistency because their pipelines are different. You're going to get an inconsistency between them. And as a result, I think in the film, sometimes the Raptors look different. They look like they're bigger or fatter, or they don't look like they're the same raptors in certain shots, and it's bizarre because it's CGI, which is supposed to be this really accurate, and there's nothing more accurate than a physical on-set practical puppet. I mean, you can't beat that.
Exactly. And you know what works so well about having so many practical dinosaurs in the first trilogy is that it forces the digital artists to match to reality. Even if they wanted to make it a bit more dynamic or a bit more vibrant than it was photographed on set, they really are not allowed to because they have to match to.
No.
And that drove the CG team at ILM a little crazy on the first one because, man, we got to match to that stuff. But it's what made it look real. And I think having those constraints of a physical reality to match to only forced the digital work to be real, even if it might be a little less spectacular. Because reality just has a different weight to it. It doesn't have that sort of, forget about physics feeling. It is constrained to physics by the very fact it's in the physical world. So, we're all in agreement on that. More practical effects in the next. Let's give Legacy a bunch of dinosaurs to build.
Yes, please. Yes, please. John Rosengrant and Shane Mahan, please be involved in the next Jurassic Park way more.
I think Jurassic Park it was perfect because it blended what was perfect. I love Jurassic Park. It's my favorite film of all time. But, I mean, the way they blended animatronics and CGI was just perfect. It created this real atmosphere. And something Jurassic World really didn't have. I know you were talking about the T-Rex. And I know Jurassic Collectibles and I both have the same problem with the T-Rex because it's not entirely accurate to the original animatronic or CGI model.
Yeah.
And I believe they used a maquette for that CGI model. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Which I think when they blew it up, Matt, when they blew it up to the full scale one, there was some slight changes that must have happened in the process that meant that the animatronic was, the one that they kind of tried to match in CG. And the problem is by trying to match the smaller scale one, you end up getting this kind of quite sort of early production sculpt, and it's not quite on model. I mean, I don't know how you felt about it, but in Jurassic World, I felt like T-Rex looked a little bit different to the one that we know and love in Jurassic Park.
It was supposed to be the same one too, so that's the.
I agree, and who knows how much of that was a little bit of artistic license, the digital artist, making some adjustments to the model to, quote, update it, or how much of it is what you're saying about it being the maquette that was scanned. All I know is the one in the first one just was more real, and I just want them to do more practical in the.
It's interesting, Matt, because I know that the Stan Winston School of Character Arts and affiliates are working on like their own films, and they're making their own practical effects in their own films, and that is fantastic to see. One of the things that CG kind of complains about is having to match practical. Sometimes it's actually less costly to just do a whole creature CG rather than try and integrate it with a practical setting. So for example, I mean, this is an old one, but if you watch an old documentary on the making of The Phantom Menace, for example, they're talking about Jar Jar Binks, and I know that's a bad example, but they had an on-set Ahmed Best dressed as Jar Jar Binks, and they did his head as a CG test, and then they did an all CG Ahmed Best, and they put them side by side, and George really couldn't tell the difference between the two, and they said, this CG one's going to cost so much less than trying to match the one on set. I think there's so much more importance in trying to match the thing that's on set. That there should be much more weight put on that, and shouldn't just be about the cost. It should be about how it's actually going to look on film.
I agree. I think there's been an unfortunate shift in the last 20 years. Not to say that producers haven't always been very, very important in the filmmaking process, but over the last 20 years, I think they've kind of hijacked the filmmaking process from the artistic vision of a director. And what has happened is a lot of the pre-production and a lot of the on-set time where the director really is in charge has been pushed to post-production, where producers have more say. And CG lends itself to that approach to filmmaking, where you're not really making decisions. You're going, okay, it's going to be cheaper this way. We don't have to worry about getting our shooting schedule because we're going to just be running in, shooting plates, and running out. There's no complex choreography we have to worry about. Don't need to worry about all kinds of pre-production for physical effects, etc. But they're not thinking about the most important thing, which is people go to movies to be fooled that what they're seeing is real, and if they're not fooled that what they're seeing is real, no matter what it is, whether it's an emotion or a set or anything, a building falling down, it doesn't have the same emotional impact. It really doesn't. There's a little remove that we feel, even if we can still enjoy something, when it's not there. And I'm not just talking about creatures now. When it's not there, but it's supposed to be, you get an emotional remove. Now, this is not true when you watch a cartoon where it's supposed to be a cartoon. It's not true when you're going to watch a wonderful Pixar film, because it's animated and you can embrace that. But when it's supposed to be real and it doesn't, it's not real, you're not feeling it. And Star Wars proves it. Force Awakens, man, that stuff is real. They're in a desert. They actually went to a freaking desert, and so on. And there were real puppets. Mad Max, there was real jeopardy going on. And
man, I love Mad Max. That was such a good film.
Fantastic.
Real jeopardy, man. Chris Nolan gets it too. They are really there. And the actors, you can tell they feel it. And then that means we feel it. So, long-winded answer.
No, it's really good. I mean, that's what we want, is to get you heated about, hear your passion. I mean, that's the thing. It's just, Yeah, it's so fantastic to hear someone who aligns with probably the general public. I think people watched The Force Awakens and were like, thank God, they used puppets that were in the original. They kind of went back to actually what the original film was. They didn't over rely on computer effects because they were cheaper in the long run.
They got the balance. They got the balance right. They're going back to how it should be, which is, as much as possible, strive to capture your story in camera.
Exactly.
Get as much on set. That's going to benefit your actors. They're going to real wardrobe. They're going to be on a set. There's going to be real things to react to. And what you can't do practically, augment digitally. That's the right way to do it. That's the right way.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. Sorry, Dino Reviews 101. Sorry, did you have a question?
Sorry, I just wanted to say one more thing about the T-Rex. Well, I think a lot of people say that the T-Rex's inaccuracies in Jurassic World are they're attributed it. Excuse me. They're trying to say it's because of age, because after 22 years, the T-Rex has gotten older. What's your opinion on that, Matt?
Sure, why not? Sure. I don't know. I think it's just that it's really hard to match a dinosaur that was executed. The majority of the shots were practical in the first film, and it's really hard to get that exact feeling in an all-digital dinosaur, and if fans want to come up with that reason for it looking different, great. And it certainly is an older dinosaur, so that makes sense too.
I think there's something to be said for, like, the symbiosis between a puppeteer and an animatronic head of a T-Rex, for example, the inaccuracy of the movements that you get, and the kind of the animalistic movements that you get. If you look at an animation, something that's refined over a period of weeks until the shot is okayed, I mean, you're going to get motion that is kind of refined until it's perfect. That is not the way that the natural world works. It's the way that a take works on set, and you have an animatronic T-Rex head, is much more kind of aligned with the way that the natural world works. It's just there's no question that practical effects just outdo CG on every level. And I think I hope that in the next Jurassic Park movie we have someone who really embraces the practical effects, and as fans I think we're all rooting for that. We're all hoping for that, because we have certainly seen a lack of practical effects in Jurassic World, and it's kind of highlighted after watching the movie. We've all gone, well, you promised us practical effects, and there's only really one dinosaur in it, and it's the Apatosaur, and we're kind of like, Jurassic Park fans were up in arms about that, So I'd really like to see that in the next Jurassic Park movie. I'm just going to move on to the next question. So we can only imagine what it must have been like to have had someone like Stan Winston as your dad. So we just wanted to know, what was your favorite memory, of working with your father?
Oh my goodness. There are so many, but you're asking me to pick one. Okay, here it is.
Okay.
My dad, I don't know if many of your listeners know, but his dream that brought him out to Hollywood was to become an actor. He, of course, was a monster kid, and he loved making himself up as werewolves and creatures and scaring his friends and etc. But he did want to be an actor, and he came out to L.A. And it wasn't really working out, and so he fell back on his other passion, which was makeup effects and art and fantasy. So that was always in the back of his head, I think. What if I had stuck with that? I think he ended up being incredibly satisfied with the way that his career turned out, but he did get a chance to act later on, and that was during a process of development for a Planet of the Apes remake that was going to happen back in the was it the early 90s, with James Cameron and Dad doing the apes, and then it became Christopher Columbus directing. Went through a series of directors, but we ended up doing a test, a makeup test, and he and I were the apes. And so I got to act with my daddy. I got to see his acting dreams come true, and we both got to be apes from the Planet of the Apes with these outrageous control devices that translated our lip movement to the lips of the prosthetic, and he and I learned a script together, and He was this older ape, and I was this younger sort of Roddy McDowell sort of chimp, and we rehearsed a bunch together, and we did a film test, and I could just see the joy he was having in performing. And so that might have been it. But look, the list of amazing memories with Stan Winston, we could sit here for days, and I could tell you how awesome it was to have that man for a father. We miss him so much. I can't even tell you.
I think we would probably actually sit here for days. If you had the time, we would absolutely sit here for days and hear your stories. At this point, I'd like to hand over to Dino Reviews 101 for our next question.
So, in 2009, you founded the Stan Winston School of Character Arts. Can you tell us how this school was formed?
Absolutely, yes. I am not a solo founder here. This is a family affair from start to finish. It was founded by the whole family, and the key, people on the ground are myself and my brother-in-law, Eric Lidoff. He and I are the co-founders of the school. So I just want to clarify that.
Right.
The school started, I guess it's important that I lay down Dad's wishes in the final years of his life, because that's really where Stan Winston School came from. It was directly from what we knew Dad wanted. It was very important to Dad to start sharing all of the wonders and magic behind what it took to pull off the creatures in the 40-year history of Stan Winston School. And it was to that end that he worked on a book called The Winston Effect in the last years of his life that told that story in images and pictures and interviews with all of the brilliant artists and technicians who made Stan Winston Studios so amazing. It was never a one-man shop. There was one man's name on the shingle, but really what made it amazing was his ability to corral hundreds of geniuses to make it happen. And that book wound up being Dad's proudest achievement. That was something that people would ask him in his final years, what was your most, I guess your favorite creation? He said the book, because it tells the whole story. It brings it all together. And we were thinking a lot about that in the last, in the year after he passed, and how much that meant to him. And we talked about, doing a digital version of the book, getting the behind-the-scenes stuff online, and because the internet really wasn't what was driving things when Dad was at his prime, but we knew he would have embraced it if he had survived. And so we're like, okay, the book online, let's maybe do that. And then it was very natural progression to think, well, why don't we have it be an interactive thing where people are actually learning, where they can execute this on their own? And from there, it became a school. And we knew, okay, we got what we need to do to continue Dad's vision and continue his desire to share. Let's build a school. And brick and mortar was a quick consideration, but we could kind of see where things were going in the world, and the internet became the vehicle to do this. And we looked around, and we saw sort of different ways to do it, and we got started. And what has been so amazing from the very beginning is the universal excitement about it from Dad's other children around town, from the practical effects community. This wouldn't be possible if they hadn't jumped on board and said, yes, I'm going to share my time, my knowledge, and be a part of this. So it really is a group effort. We have hundreds of artists now on our roster, and a great team who makes it run every day. And it's by far the most fulfilling thing I've ever been a part of. And I know Dad would absolutely love it. So that's Stan Winston School for you.
I got goosebumps just listening to you talk about that. That's amazing. Yeah. So, how is the atmosphere around Stan Winston School? Do a lot of students cite Jurassic Park as their inspiration? Do a lot of students like to talk about previous movies that Stan worked on?
Absolutely. What we have going for us as a school that I think is incredibly rare is a very, very deep and impressive history of iconic fantasy characters that are associated with Dad's name. Obviously, the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park people might be searching for that online and then see a behind the scenes about how to build a T-Rex from Stan Winston School, and that brings them to us. The Terminator is obviously a huge, iconic franchise character that drives a lot of interest to what we're doing. And the Predator and Iron Man suits. And, you know, Dad worked on a lot of really huge franchises that have definitely driven interest to the school. And we're very lucky that we have so many amazing characters that bring people to us. And then they go, ooh, these are the people who built it? Ooh, this is how they built it? That's really fun. Maybe I might want to try that. So, yes, the answer is yes.
That's awesome. What's been the best moment for you in the history of the school?
The best moment in the history of the school?
Or the most, like, the one you, like, I know Jurassic Collectibles asked you if you could imagine a memory with your dad. What's a memory that you're always thinking about in the history of the school?
Yes, okay. So,
what's happened?
Oh my gosh, every single day, I'll give you a favorite, but every single day we get multiple notes from artists and technical wizards around the world, whether they're professionals or just getting started out, thanking us for sharing this knowledge that until now was fairly hidden behind a wall of silence, a Hollywood wall of silence. And there's such gratitude that these pros, these busy pros, are taking the time out to share. Now, that's very fulfilling, and we hear it every day, and this is why I can keep doing this till I'm old and gray. Well, I'm already gray, so until I'm old and grayer. But one message that stands out is a mother wrote in, and she had written in about a lesson by David Monzingo, who is the art department supervisor at Legacy Effects. Started working for my father at age 19, worked for Dad for 20 years, did a rod puppet lesson. She wrote in, she said, my son cannot stop watching this lesson. He has autism. It has been a struggle throughout his lifetime to connect with him or find things that will bring him out of his shell and make him engage with the world. And this lesson is one of the first thing that's ever done that for him. And I want to thank you, David, for sharing. It has changed his life. And he has proceeded to continue to dive in and find a source of engagement with the world through our online videos. And that just makes me want to cry every time I think about it. And we shared that. Oh, I'm starting right now, guys. And that was incredible. And David printed that note up. He hung it on his wall at home, and he said that is the proudest moment in his professional career. And this is a man who worked on dinosaurs and Terminators. And so David Monzingo's lesson, that note was pretty remarkable.
That's brilliant. His heart is in the right place. It sounds that's fantastic. There's a lot of thing about kind of like when I meet fellow artists, it seems like you kind of meet people and they have that connection. It's weird how the best artists often tend to be the best people, like morally, and their heart is in the right place. And
there are obviously exceptions to that rule, but I think there's something that all artists have in common, and that is a desire, and not just artists, technical wizards have a desire to create, have a desire to play, to wake up every day and imagine the possibilities. And I think, they're never driven really by greed or money. Dad didn't care a bit about money. He cared about creating, and it made him a wealthy man, but he didn't care about money. He would go and he would spend it on some amazing creation. But I think that's something all artists have in common. And I should say, for any of your listeners who are not aware of Stan Winston School, and even for you guys to understand what we're all about, it's not about practical effects at all. It's not about digital effects. It's not about effects. It's not about cosplay. It's about creativity. Our mission is to inspire and foster creativity in whatever form that takes. You know, a small fraction of the people who learn from us are ever going to make the leap to Hollywood and become professional effects artists. But I hope the majority of the students who work with us will take the inspiration that they've gotten from learning from our artists and use it to just be creative in their life, however that is, whether it's writing or engineering or architecture. Just be creative. You know, that's our message, and that's what we hope to accomplish.
That's just awesome. So we got one more question, or actually one more question, but I want to ask you something else, because there's a debate going on in the Jurassic Park community concerning a certain still from the Lost World Jurassic Park. People have been arguing over if it's a CGI or a practical effect. So I just want to ask you that at the end. But what's in store for the school? What can we look forward to, and how can listeners find out more about the school?
Well, for all things Stan Winston School, just go to stanwinstonschool.com, and you're going to see really everything going on, whether it's a new on-demand web course or a new opportunity to learn live online from these wizards. We also have lots of new artist spotlights every week where we give a little bit of a platform to someone who's not in Hollywood but is doing wonderful things, whether it's an amateur in South America or, you know, some kid in China making monsters out of cardboard. And then, of course, we always have spotlights on what the pros are up to. We have a very active forum community, so it really is becoming a very vibrant place to connect and learn with a global community. So we're always excited about how that grows. The things that are most exciting about what we're doing this year are translations. That's one of the huge things that is thrilling to our entire staff and our entire community. Is language is really the final barrier to sharing what we're doing, and we have a mission to translate our library into 30 languages and it's underway, and it's thrilling, and now we can reach people everywhere and share this information everywhere. The other big initiative that is thrilling to us is our school initiative. We're in more and more high schools and colleges where, rather than, you know, painting an apple or, you know, boring figure drawing, you're learning those same skills through sketching creatures and sketching fantasy. We have a 2-year program going on at a nearby high school called the Beast Program, where these kids, as part of their credited curriculum, are going to be building animatronic characters. You know, year 1, they're going to build the mechanical understructure. Year 2, they're going to build the flesh and the aesthetics. That's thrilling to me, you know, that this is actually going to get young people young, you know, because oftentimes you're not reached by that message of be creative until it's too late. You know, you're 20, you're 18, but to know that 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds are going to get our inspiration early is awesome. So that's this year, is translations and our library going to high schools and colleges around the world.
That's just fantastic. So right here, I'm about to send you a link here. This is of a tweet, and there's a big debate right now, and no one can figure out if this is a animatronic Tyrannosaurus Rex or is this a CGI Rex or an animatronic Rex?
Oh, how do I find the? I see.
Yeah, it's just in the chat here.
It looks like an animatronic.
A lot of people think that I actually think it's an animatronic layered with CGI. Originally,
by the way, guys, we'll put the link to this in the show notes. So if you want to see the link, it'll be below, so you can have a look for yourselves.
Hold on, I can tell you in half a second, guys.
It looks practical to me.
Yeah, that is.
I always thought this was practical.
100% practical.
Yeah.
That is a practical dinosaur.
Did they CGI the eyes or anything like that, or anything? Because there's definitely some type of
I see what you're seeing there on the right eye. I see that you're seeing that little moment of pixelation.
Oh yeah.
Or darkening. But this is 100% the puppet.
There's no CGI added at all.
Well, there might be a slight something going on in the eye there, but I don't know if that's some kind of flaw that's from the transfer. I don't know, but that is a completely real dinosaur you're looking at there.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate someone finally answering that. That's been a big debate, but I'm proven wrong because I thought it was I thought it was really good CGI.
No, I know how latex moves, and I'm seeing the fold in the upper part of the neck where it joins the back as the shadow plays. It's a fold that a digital artist would not have kept.
I think part of the CGI-ness about this, I think, is the fact that maybe they've upped the frame rate on this. It looks like maybe they've sped up the performance, so maybe it was done slower and then sped up.
Yep. I'm also seeing the stationary aspect of the body there is because it's on the rig.
Right.
This is not a digital shot. This is not a shot a digital artist would create. I see limitations that the puppet had here. But it looks totally real because it's there. It's actually there.
It's so fantastic. The fact that anyone would actually think that it's a digital shot is just amazing. It's out of all, I think this might be my favorite shot from any Jurassic Park sequel. So it's amazing to look at because it's honestly kind of surreal because it looks like a real dinosaur.
Yeah, this is it. And the reason it's framed that way is because in this film, they only built the T-Rexes from the mid-quarters or the mid-body forward. There was no tail, no rear body. It was just mid-body forward for these insert puppets. And that's how this shot is framed to hide that. 100% real. Anyway, guys,
okay.
Remember how you said you want to talk for days about stuff? We can do that. Let's just do a few more podcasts, okay?
Oh man, we'd love to have you back, and actually that's perfect timing because I'm sad to say we're kind of coming to the end of today's podcast. But I'd just like to say, a huge thank you to Matt Winston for coming on the show. You've been incredible, and as one last final tiny weeny question. If Jurassic Park fans are listening to this show and they want to know just one little tidbit from the production of the original, the first Jurassic Park, what would be your little tidbit of information that if you were to tell something they didn't know about the original Jurassic Park, what would you tell them? What would you reel off? What would you say? Oh, did you know the Spitter actually had 3 legs? Something like that.
Wow, you got to give me a moment to think about it.
That is hilarious.
Give me a moment.
I'm laughing too hard at that.
I'm trying to think of a good tidbit because we put out so much of it.
Jurassic Party.
You've said one that hasn't been heard. That's hard. Gosh.
You did the Jurassic Party event. I was lucky enough to buy a ticket for that.
Oh, that was so good.
It was fantastic. I think someone took it down though, so I can't access it anymore.
No, it is available on our site. If people look under our live web course offerings, you will see that entire 6-hour event. That's where your fans got to go. That's where you're going to hear everything.
Well, there we go. That's the tidbit. I mean, guys, if you want a tidbit, go and watch that because personally, I watched that. I stayed up all night to watch that, and it was fantastic. So
it's 6 straight hours with crews from all 4 Jurassic Park films, including Jurassic World, and you're going to get so many tidbits that have never been heard on any behind-the-scenes extras. And you got to go watch that. There's a little tease for you.
Exactly. I remember I was up because it was around the time that Jurassic World came out, and I was up with a cup of coffee, and I was enjoying that. And it got to about 4 o'clock, and I had to stop, but it was okay because I came back to it in the morning. I think it was like on YouTube or something at the time. But yeah, definitely check that out, guys. If you haven't watched it already, we'll put the link in the description of the show notes so you guys can go and have a look at that yourselves. So so thank you so much, Matt, for coming on the show today and taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us. We really, really appreciate it. And we'd love to have you back again on the show just to talk more about Jurassic Park. I'm sure there's going to be loads of comments following the release of this podcast saying, we want to know, what color was the Dilophosaur's ear or something. We're going to have loads of questions. So it'd be great, if you could come back at some point. But we really appreciate you coming on the show today. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you both, Dino Reviews 101 and Jurassic Collectibles. We are all fellow dinosaur fans, and anytime you want to talk more about dinosaurs, let's do it.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. And also, thanks to Dino Reviews 101 for being a great co-host. Thank you, Dino Reviews.
Well, thank you, Jurassic Collectibles, and thank you, Matt Winston. It's been great here. It's just amazing hearing all these stories about you back at the studio with Stan Winston and your opinions on Jurassic Park and Jurassic World and all about Stan Winston School. It's just been fantastic.
And don't forget, you can see more of me, Jurassic Collectibles, and Dino Reviews 101 on our own respective YouTube channels. I'll put links to those in the show notes or the description down below. Be sure to like our Facebook pages and follow us on Twitter, and links to those are all in the show notes, along with links to the Stan Winston School of Character Arts and their Twitter and Facebook pages. Be sure to like and follow those too, most importantly. So until next time, keep roaring, Jurassic Park fans.